So what I thought we'd start with is I've got the book, a head full of everything. I suppose the first question is, why write a book for teenagers?
So the vast majority of my time with Tree of Knowledge, with my business, actually has been spent working with teenagers. So my background was primary school teaching. But when I made that shift out of the classroom and into doing educational training in schools, actually, to my surprise, I found myself working in secondary education much more. And I did that for over 10 years. Every single day I was in a secondary school in Scotland, sometimes south of the border as well, sometimes over in Northern Ireland, but vast majority of it in Scotland, working with teenagers. And the vast majority of that was fourth, fifth, and sixth year. So that sort of age 14, 15 to 17, 18. And I've always been genuinely inspired by our youth of today. There's an old man's phrase right there. But I have been, every workshop I ever delivered, these teenagers just blew me away. I think they get a tough time in the press. I think there's a stereotypical old school perception of teenagers hanging about park benches. But actually they really care. They care about the world. They care about each other. They care about themselves. They want to make the world a better place. They want to have fun. They want to live their life and be independent. And I think, fast forward a few years, the first few books I wrote were for the grown-ups. The next couple of books I wrote were for kids aged sort of like 7 to 11. And for about 4 or 5 years, people have been saying, have you got anything for that sort of teenage, not young teenagers? I think the phrase somebody used with me once was tweenagers, which made me want to throw up in my mouth. But they were talking more that young adults, not quite an adult, but not a kid anymore. So to go back to your question, firstly, there was a gap because I wanted to be able to create a series of books where there was one for everyone. And 2 years ago, Life Will See You Now came out, and that's very much for the grown-ups. But I kept getting contacted by parents saying, I'm going to give this to my teenager. It's not really for teenagers. It's very sweary. It deals with some interesting themes. And then I was getting contacted by people going, have you ever thought about doing a teenage version of Life Will See You Now? And that is essentially what A Head Full of Everything is. That I've pulled some stuff over from Life Will See You Now. I've tweaked it, teenagered it a little bit. That's not even a phrase, but we'll go with it. And I think they're our future right now in this country, and they've had a tough time. I mean, if you look at senior pupils in Scottish secondary schools, the last entire 3 years right now in all secondary schools, none of them have ever sat an exam because of COVID. Whether you are fourth, fifth, or sixth year, you have never sat a single exam before at school. They've been stuck indoors for huge chunks of that bit of your life that's meant to be social and out and having fun and building those relationships and discovering yourself, finding out who you are, where you're going and what you want in life. So I'm hoping, and certainly initial feedback and reviews are positive. I'm hoping that this book can offer a sense of uplift, give them a nudge, put a smile back on faces, relight some fires and bellies, and really offer that sort of metaphorical arm of support. Yeah, you've had a strange couple of years. Let's look at where we are right now and go crack on.
Yeah,